Today we are discussing verse 22. Atikruddha prahashto va kim karomiti va mrushan davan va yatpadam gacche tatra spandaha pratitishthati. Let us listen carefully. When one is intensely angry, intensely joyful, wondering what shall I do, or running in great urgency, the state that is reached in that moment, there is spanda established. This is one of the most practical and experiential verses in entire Spanda Karika. Until now, much of the discussions has been about understanding the nature of the self, the source, and the universal spanda. This verse now turns directly to experience. It asks a simple question: where can spanda be found? And the answer is surprising. Not only in meditation, not only in silence, not only in caves and monasteries, but in the midst of life itself. The verse gives you several examples: a moment of intense anger, a moment of overwhelming joy, a moment of shock, a moment of confusion, a moment of urgency, a moment when life suddenly demands your complete attention. Why these moments? Because something unusual happens. Sometimes people encounter this naturally. A climber on a mountain face, a racer moving at extreme speed, or a person suddenly facing an emergency may discover that ordinary thinking stops, attention becomes total. In that moment, a deeper energy and presence is revealed. Most people experience the intensity but miss the source. The yogi uses the same opening to recognize spanda. Ordinarily, the mind functions through habit. Thought follows thought, memory follows memory, one reaction gives rise to another. We move mechanically through life. But in moments of great intensity, this continuity is interrupted. For an instant, the usual mental structure is shaken. A gap appears, and through that gap, spanda may be recognized. The verse is not glorifying anger, nor is it recommending emotional excesses. It is pointing to something deeper. In an intense moment, the mind is temporarily stripped of its ordinary patterns. And when those patterns are weakened, the underlying source becomes easier to notice. Consider a moment of great joy. Perhaps unexpected news arrives. Perhaps something deeply desired is fulfilled. For a brief instant, before the mind starts interpreting the event, there is pure expansion, a sudden opening, a silent fullness. The mind has not yet resumed its commentary. That opening is important. Or consider a moment of intense anger. The energy rises so strongly that a brief moment, the ordinary chain of thought is disrupted. The force of the experience shakes the habitual structure. A yogi remains alert in such moment, not carried away by the emotion, but attentive to the source from where the energy emerges. The same principle applies in moments of fear, in moments of astonishment, in moments of danger, in moments when one suddenly does not know what to do. The mind pauses. Its usual certainty collapses, and for an instant, a deeper reality shines through. This teaching has a close resemblance to many methods found in contemplative traditions. One observes the gap between two thoughts, the gap between inhalation and exhalation, the transition between waking and sleep, the moment between two experiences. Why? Because spanda reveals itself most clearly where habitual mental movement briefly subsides. The ordinary person misses these moments. The experience comes and goes, and attention immediately returns to the story. The event is remembered, but the source is forgotten. The wave is noticed, the ocean is missed. The yogi does something different. He remains alert. He uses these moments as doorways, not to analyze, not to judge, but to recognize. To notice the living pulse of awareness that is present before thought takes over. This is the great beauty of the verse. It teaches that life itself becomes the path. Nothing is rejected, nothing is wasted. Joy becomes a doorway, anger becomes a doorway, wonder becomes a doorway, even confusion becomes a doorway. Every intense experience can reveal the same underlying reality. What is revealed? Not an object, not a vision, not a concept, but the living throb of consciousness itself. The spanda that is always present, the silent pulse behind every experience. The invitation of this verse is therefore simple. Become more alert to the moments that shake you awake. Notice the instant before the mind creates its story. Notice the gap between the interpretation begins. Notice the gap before the interpretation begins. Notice the stillness hidden within the intensity. There, says the Karika, Spanda is established. The source is not far away. It is hidden in the very experience of life. Every shock, every wonder, every moment of complete attention can become an opening, can become a revelation, can become a return to the source. Om.